Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the web. Today we're going to look into consent. Now, when it comes to sexual consent or having to give your partner permission, it's not as simple as some people think it might be. This article is from the New York Times. Let's dive right into it. If you talk to young people about sex, you may sense an unsettling malaise. Nearly half of American adults and a majority of women say that dating has gotten harder for most people over the past 10 years. According to the Pew Research Center, fully half of single adults have given up on looking for a relationship or dating at all. Rates of sexual activity, partnership, and marriage have reached a 30-year low, with young adults leading the retreat. I don't think older generations realize how terrifying dating is for the current generation, fumed one young Twitter user to the tune of 18,000 likes. Absolutely chaotic out here. When I interviewed dozens of people for my book on sex and relationships, I found that women in particular discuss their sexual experiences in visceral terms, encounters that end in unexpected and alarming acts, a choking, say, or other porn-inspired violence that they go along without off surprise of resignation. After all, if consent is given, and it is often is, there are no grounds left for protests. Navigating our love lives has always been difficult, but today the general outlook among heterosexual daters has come to take on a less playful, more depressive tone, manifesting in what the writer Asa Saracen calls heteropessimism, a mode of feeling usually expressed in the form of regret, embarrassment, and hopelessness about the straight experience. Queer relationships being less beholden to male-female gender dynamics may present fewer issues, but they aren't perfect either. It's an anesthetic posture, one that young people use to avoid fully feeling a sense of sorrow for their lack of control and repeated disappointment, or fully acknowledging the pervasive awfulness of a sexual culture that's not suited to their happiness. The pessimism comes at a moment when we might expect the opposite. After all, one could say that we're living in a golden age of sexual freedom. The average age of first marriage is rising. It's more acceptable than ever to remain single or pursue a wide variety of relationship styles. A majority of the public finds premarital sex acceptable. Birth control for women is widely available, and with health insurance often free. Sex positivity is celebrated in progressive circles, with sexual adventurousness championed and inhibition often looked down on. We have breached the ramparts of repression and the wall of silence that prevented us from expressing our sexual has, for the most part, fallen. Getting rid of the old rules and replacing them with the norm of consent was supposed to make us happy. Instead, many people today feel a bit lost. One of the most important pleasures of sexual intimacy The Washington University professor and ethicist Fanny Bielek told me when I asked why this might be the case is feeling like you have the possibility of the unexpected, but not too much possibility of the unexpected. Boundaries, as any therapist would tell you, are necessary and important. By defining the scope of what isn't wanted or acceptable, they lay out a space for everything else that might be. And in our haste to liberate ourselves, we may have left something important behind. Dr. Bielek went on to use the analogy of a dinner party to explain some of the shortcomings of our current romantic landscape. I most likely know what's going to happen when I go to a dinner. And the fact that unexpected things happen in the course of conversation is pleasurable. But the unexpected can be pleasurable, but it's within a fairly tight boundary. She continued, I can be interested in what someone says instead of worrying what they will stab me with a knife at the dinner table. Not having to worry about all these radically unexpected things frees up that attention and that possibility of enjoyment. But these days, Dr. Bielek told me, many people experience a lot more unexpected interactions in a sexual context than they do at dinner because of our unwillingness to acknowledge a shared set of norms for sex beyond the bare minimum of consent, let alone the fact that we haven't even gotten the bare minimum completely right. Our current sexual culture can feel painfully unmoored. It's easy to see how overly stringent social regulation caused harm in the past. The sexual revolution happened for a reason, yet we can recognize the benefits we have gained. Less shame, more acceptance of sexual minorities, a recognition of the value of women's sexual agency, while acknowledging the problems that persist or have worsened. Are these norms we might create or reclaim today that might paradoxically make our romantic landscape freer for everyone? That enjoyment of dinner parties rests on a clear set of social standards, broadly shared, community-regulated understanding of what we hope a gathering will look like and how attendees should behave. For sexual encounters, setting these standards will require heated debate, and our vision for what sex means in our society must be corrected together. So the article actually goes on to discuss further in details as to how we can analyze and fix the consent issue that we're having in our society. Let me just skip to the conclusion. All right. In every other situation common to the human experience, eating, drinking, exercise, even email, we have come to realize that limits produce healthier results. It's unlikely that sex and relationships are exceptions to the rule. An unrestrained sexual culture hasn't necessarily led to better sex for all or to better relationships. In many cases, it has inspired numbness, callousness, hurting others and being hurt. And rather than being titillating, sexual overload has become boring. Rules can make things more exciting, more beautiful, more open to the possibility of something better, even if we aren't there yet. This article was produced by the New York Times on April 7, 2022. If you want to read more, the link is in the description. This was done by Christine Emba. Alright guys, peace out of here. Please like and subscribe.